There we are. Welcome back to the Pat Flynn Show, everybody. And we are here with a man disgraced, Alex, the Hebrew Hammer Salkin. Thanks for coming on, man, after your
Complete annihilation.
gross public humiliation, which we were going to talk about here in this episode.
Yes.
You thought you were an expert. You thought you were a kettlebell instructor of 11 years until we're going to describe what happened here in just a few minutes. But how are you, my friend? And what
I'm
is
recovering.
new?
You know, I'm trying to put the pieces back together from the epic beatdown that I received on Instagram from somebody who is totally well informed, not at all a kook, and certainly not a moron.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, this. What have you learned from this episode, Alex? I mean, like, have you learned not to post videos trying to offer helpful content to people anymore, or what? I just want to know what sort of steps you're going to take moving forward here to make sure that you're not caught off guard again.
Yeah, I've realized that it's funny because George Burns, who was a very famous comedian back in the day, made a very salient observation. He said, it's really too bad that all of the people who should be running the country are too busy driving taxi cabs and cutting hair. And I have noticed the same thing when it comes to training, is that all the people who should be training people and helping people turn their lives around and get stronger, fitter, and healthier with minimum of equipment, but high concept and tried and true techniques, well, those people aren't the ones who should be the people who are better set up to do that are the ones who are out there leaving all of the free comments all over people's Instagram pages and Facebook pages, and not the people who are actually doing it for a living. And it had just escaped me, like 11 years of being a certified instructor under Pavel himself, all for naught. And,
Right. Yeah. So let's set the stage, set the context. Alex has a long history of being a kettlebell instructor. He's got numerous credentials. And he recently posted a video to Instagram trying to help people to develop a more crisp and refined kettlebell swing technique. And an online expert discovered Alex's video somehow and just tore Alex to pieces. I mean, obliterated, annihilated, destroyed. What other verbs do you want to throw in there?
I would say wrecked, but spelled R-E-K-T. Rather than the proper spelling we normally see.
Right. So let's, Alex, just to, I don't want to keep the focus too much on you. Of course, we always want to provide value to the gentle listener. So why don't we give a little background of this technique? I've got the video pulled up here, and can you see this? Is this visible?
Yep.
And what we'll do is we'll go through the video. And Alex, I kind of want to, even though this obviously did not turn out the way you wanted it to, I do want you to give us a little background of what this technique is and why you think it would benefit people. And then we'll address the situation that we came on the podcast to address. So should I play the video first? Is that what you want me to do? Or
yeah, why don't we play the video and I'll explain it as we're doing it. Okay.
I like this outfit too, by the way.
Thank you. It was called my quasi birthday suit. Yeah. So the idea here, if you're an astute observer, is you're seeing that I'm actually starting the kettlebell swing from behind me on an elevation. In this case, my couch, which I discovered was a very good way to do this. The idea behind this movement in particular is to get the most out of your light and moderate kettlebells. In this case, I should point out I'm using a 32 kilo bell, so that might not be the proper weight for most people to start off with, but it worked okay for me. And I decided I wanted to give this a try again. I had done this a couple of years ago, and the intention was to kind of do let's say a 2.0 version of Mark Rifkin's power swing. Sure. And the power swing is normally practiced with the kettlebell in front of you in the starting position on the floor. And so when Mark created this, the idea was that it was to get people to learn how to move explosively through their hips from every single rep and not solely rely on the momentum of the kettlebell falling back down into the hinge.
Let's see if I can
generate more explosive power. So this one is an even more disadvantaged position because you're starting from the backswing position. So you really have to work on making sure that you do all of the things that you're supposed to be doing with a kettlebell swing, moving explosively through the hips, pushing your feet hard through the floor, standing up tall and at attention, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so yeah, it's going to play again. And why don't you go ahead and just talk through the setup of this, so if people want to try it at home.
You got it. So if you want to try this, what you want to try to do is you want to find an elevation where you can basically keep the kettlebell roughly where it would be in the backswing. So for instance, I've seen a lot of people do this lately, where they start the kettlebell swing or clean or whatever from behind them, where the kettlebell is on the ground, but in between their heels, let's say. And a lot of times what that ends up leading to is more of a squatty style swing. And so it kind of defeats the purpose of a swing or whatever else it may be. So the idea behind this is that the elevation is going to give you roughly the same position that you would be in the backswing anyway. But because you're starting it at a dead start from this disadvantaged position, it really forces you to have all of your cues that you know and love in proper working order. So, a big part of that is you are maintaining the natural curves of your spine. You are hinged. You are pushing your feet hard through the ground. You are gripping the ground with your feet, and you're kind of corkscrewing them, keeping your midsection tight, and so on and so forth.
Right. Now, I know we're going to have your technique here annihilated in just a minute, but you gave us some pretty good cues right there. What else do people want to have in mind when they're performing this particular drill for the kettlebell swing?
Well, what I would say first and foremost is you want to start light, because again, you might find, okay, maybe you can swing 24, 28, 32 with no real problem when you're doing regular swings. But you might find even with a regular power swing, you have to start a little bit lighter in order to really get the proper sensation of the movement. And it's got to be doubly true for this one, because you're starting in a position where you can't even take advantage of the momentum of the kettlebell moving backward, because the kettlebell is already back as far as it can possibly go. And so from here, you have to have the proper position. You have to stand up with requisite speed. And it is not as easy to do that. The whole point is that this is a disadvantaged position, and that, if you're starting too heavy, you're probably going to find you're either going to fall forward, the kettlebell won't go very far, or, this gentleman who decided to comment on my page might just try to find your page and then similarly attempt to tear you a new one as well.
Right. So what I really like about this variation, and Alex, this was I had not seen this variation before, is that as you know, the starting position with the swing can be a little problematic for some people, because it can sort of distort the hinge mechanics, can cause you to translate the shins a little bit too far forward, get a little bit squatty. Now, again, with practice, we should be able to kind of like work on a lot of that and fix it, or at least just be aware of it, that we're able to sort of course correct as we start getting into our swings. But what I like about this variation is having the kettlebell elevated from the start really should allow pretty much anybody to get into a really good, proper hinge position right from the get-go, and then benefit from just that start-stop variation. And as you said before, the benefit of the start stop variation is it's all just about just going from nothing to as much oomph as you can. You're just trying to slam your hips forward, coming to a strong standing plank, bracing the abs at the top, squeezing the glutes, and we're really just sort of getting rid of the spindle reflex, which is fine, there's nothing wrong with that. That's sort of a normal aspect of the swing, but it's good to have this extra variation to really help us to develop more power in the swing, to really get the idea behind the swing as about maximal force production, right? Not being lazy with the swing. Like, I really like to think jumping through your heels, slamming the hips forward, crashing into a standing plank, all these like big action verbs, right? That's what we want to think with the swing. And that's the purpose of this drill, as I understand it. Does that sound right to you, Alex?
Absolutely. And, I'll add one other thing too here. When I was doing my kettlebell cert back, would have been in October of 2010. One of the drills that we did during the swing segment, when we were teaching, and I have to point this out too, because this is always something that I still think is very cool. Pavel himself was leading the certification, and of course he was leading the swing segment. And one of the things that he had us do for that bottom position is we had to take a towel and grab the towel and get into this hike position, and then we would have a partner come behind us and pull on the towel so that we understood the kind of position that we need to be in. So you kind of find the right position. You learn how not to be lazy in that position, but how that's kind of the point at which you have to start to prepare to, like you said, jump through the heels, slam your feet through the floor, and that sort of a thing. So this is basically like a step above this, because rather than being an isometric drill, this drill is meant to get that same sensation and then immediately turn it into an explosive swing. So like you pointed out, we want to use the swing for like this explosive and dynamic power and this sort of a thing, even though it's like the start stop and it's not the primary purpose of the swing. The idea is to make the swing better. So by doing this, plus by doing regular power swings, is a very good way to turn your light and moderate bells into bells that are going to help you continue to build a whole lot more power without necessarily having to add tons and tons of more reps, like is kind of the standard approach.
Right. People are going to get really sick of watching this video on repeat by the time we're done with this episode. But
that's why I did it with no shirt on, so that people would be titillated.
Yes, indeed, indeed. So, and let me just emphasize that although this is a great sort of progression or learning drill for the swing, it is a phenomenal exercise in and of itself. Just doing straight sets of start-stop swing variations will thrash your quads like a sad puppy. It's an awesome exercise. It jacks the heart rate up, and it really does emphasize, it seems probably because you're more in that sort of static position for longer, the anterior chain. In relation to the posterior chain. So it's a great exercise in and of itself. It's not just a learning tool or technique. It's something that I regularly like to put into just general swing programming just for its own sake. So
yeah.
Shall we get to the destruction now, Alex?
Yes, let us do that.
And then we'll see if we can do the destruction of the destruction. So Alex thought he was doing the public a service. He thought he was doing the good. And then he got annihilated. So as we can see here, one of the comments, I will read it, comes in from a user from Instagram, and it reads, fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji. This is so bad. Thumbs down, thumbs down, thumbs down. Alex, what was your initial reaction when this criticism came in? Just bring us back to the raw details.
Well, when I saw this, I read it the way you did. It was like fire emojis. That's a good thing. People are saying that your video is fire or flames or, hot, whatever the nomenclature you want to use. But it didn't quite add up with the next part, which was, let's see here. This is so bad, followed by 3 thumbs down. I should point out, by the way, that there are 6 emojis and 4 words in this comment. And I have posited before I posted this on my Facebook a couple of weeks ago, that the number of emojis present in any social media post is inversely proportional to the truth of the post. Meaning, if somebody posts something with tons of emojis, that should immediately light up red flags that perhaps,
especially the clapping emojis, when people like it's always a substitute for an argument, right?
Between every word,
put a clap between every word.
Exactly. This is so bad. Exactly.
This is so bad. Yeah, he should have done that. If he would have put the claps between the "this is so bad" and the fire and thumbs down emoji, this would have been the comment of the year. I would have printed it out, hung it right here.
I would have absolutely. I would have commissioned a painting with that.
So it took me a few minutes to appreciate the gem of this comment. Of course, I never pay attention to social media that much. So you wrote an email about this. I'm like, I gotta go see who's trolling Alex, right? This is peak Instagram, right? This is why Pat Flynn doesn't pay too much attention to social media. Somebody actually wrote this, right? And presumably they're not a follower of yours. They just saw this video and felt compelled to hit you with this. So Alex, I know you're a man of tender emotions and you've got many gentle feelings. So just again, I feel free. This can be a psychotherapy session if it needs to be. How did you react to this? How did this make you feel, Alex?
Well, I'm going to read off what I wrote back. Because people who are looking at the screen may not be able to see it all that well.
Yeah, they probably won't see the text, Alex. So why don't you take us through this journey and let's start. Yeah, let's hear his critiques. Why was this so bad?
Right. Well, first of all, I said, I'm so confused. You put the fire emoji first, which usually is a good thing. Then tell me it's bad, followed by thumbs down emojis. Do you like it or not? And he goes, my honest opinion is that you should drop the adaptive couch maneuver and swing the bell like you mean it. Quote, break the goddamn floor with your feet like you mean it.
Like you
Now, this is a completely erroneous comment to make because I'm already doing that. So basically, the real purpose of his comment is it's not to try to help me, it's to try to demonstrate that he knows something, right? Now, people who really do know things don't feel the need to do this. Like, you're never going to see Dan John going on somebody's Instagram and being like, oh, you know, you need to do X, Y, and Z with your goblet squat. And if he's going to do that, it's because he knows the person in person, or perhaps he would send them a private message. But he's going to do it because he wants to be helpful, not because he feels this need to, you know, show off his intelligence.
Signaling,
so,
yeah.
So what I did is I wrote back to his question here, or to his response, and I said, LOL, all right, man. I'm going to try to take it easy on you because I can tell you mean well, but your criticism makes no sense. Telling me to, quote, break the floor like I mean it isn't helpful because I'm already doing that. An example of good criticism, because I did some reconnaissance, I said an example of good criticism.
Of course you did.
An example of good criticism.
Alex is never puerile, friends. He's always a.
No, exactly. And let me tell you something too. Like, I'm a genuinely, like, a very polite person. I was always raised to be very polite. But I will tell you, if I need to get the point across and I need to say something that will hurt you, it does not take very long for me to find the thing and then, you know, dig. So that's what I did. I just went to his profile and I looked at what he considers good technique. And after I was done, you know, wiping the tears of laughter away from my face, that's when I wrote this. So I said, an example of good criticism would be something like me telling you in your Turkish getup video posted May 10th of 2020, narrow your getup stance. Don't let your lunging leg bow so far inward, because this thing was like the Leaning Tower of Pisa on crack. Don't let your left leg come up when rolling to your elbow. A big no-no. Or in your swing video, and that was just a very truncated list of things. I decided I didn't want this comment to get too long. Or in your swing video posted April 25th of last year, don't start with the bell so far away from you because you ended up overreaching on your right arm and unpacking your shoulder. Plus, you're bending your elbow more than you should on the left side. When you've done that and you can outlift me, then come drop all the critiques here that you want.
This is actually funny because, like, I sent out an email not too long ago. Like, the theme was like lift weights and avoid drama, and then immediately Alex sends out an email with a bunch of just phony internet drama.
Exactly.
So is that when I chimed in? Because of course I couldn't help myself.
Well, you chimed in momentarily. So he got in he fired off a response, a little bit more demure than his previous efforts, and then you jumped in. So we'll read that here. But he wrote, that's good feedback. I'll review that with qualified professionals and apply it into practice. Well, he's already reviewed it by a qualified professional. So
or is implying that you're not a qualified
professional?
Exactly. I like that. I like this guy's style.
Yeah, me too. He goes, I'm busting your chops because of the couch routine. It's cheesy. And no, you're not breaking the floor during those swings. And this is where Pat
seems like we're in a he said, she said type of moment here, Alex.
Right. But the
I am doing it.
No, yeah, exactly. No, I'm doing an advanced move with the weight that he would seem to struggle with based off of what it looks like he's doing with a 24 kilo bell. So anyway, Pat, always being a good friend, likes to dump fuel all over every fire he can find. And he goes, hey, brother, you know, tagging this guy. Hey, brother, couldn't agree more. And thanks for saying what everybody else is thinking. Who does Alex think he is? What else do you think Alex could be doing better? And
we did not get a response to that. Actually.
No, we haven't gotten a response to that. But but then anyway, I wrote in response to this guy telling me, you know, my form is cheesy and that, you know, I wasn't breaking the floor or whatever. I go, oh, thank goodness. That's the only reason you're breaking my chops. Up to this point, I thought it was because, like all avid students of YouTube University, you thought your having skimmed Simple and Sinister and half-heartedly watching Jillian Michaels' kettlebell videos somehow made you qualified to critique my form, even while missing all the glaring flaws in your own. And you've had a good couple of other comments since then.
Yeah, we can. People can go look at the thread if they. Alex, what's your Instagram handle if they don't like my advice of avoiding drama and they live for the?
Oh yeah, if you live for drama, okay, so you need to go to at Alex ALEKS _ Salkin SALKIN, and you will find me. Excellent. I am there, and I've got screenshots too. So if for some reason the guy decides to, just delete everything, I'll send you the screenshot so you can just reach out.
So there's a million things that I want to, I guess, reflect upon and see what sort of lessons we can draw from this. I mean,
hang on a second. Hang on. I want to stop you right here. Tyler White in the comments says, you seem like a great guy, but that couch thing is really stupid. Respectfully, me. Well, thank you, performative masculinity, Kyle, with your cowboy hat on.
Alex just attracts the best of the lot here.
Yeah. I'm gonna look this guy up and make him laugh. Is this on Facebook?
Refrain yourself, Alex. Does anybody else have anything especially irrelevant and nasty they'd like to say to Alex? Exactly. We can give you all this.
Send it to me with a video of you one arm swinging the beast, and I will be glad to keep it under consideration.
I just like. So first off, obviously, if people haven't detected my sarcasm, your kettlebell swing technique is excellent, right? Like you check all the boxes. You've been doing this for 11 years, so that's what makes this sort of thing so funny. It's just like clearly somebody comes out of the backwoods of Instagram to make a completely not just unhelpful, but just wrong comment. Yeah. Right. Not for the purpose of actually trying to provide helpful, constructive feedback. But really, again, like you said, Alex, just trying to signal and try to make themselves feel important. The lesson from here is this: there's nothing wrong with wanting to provide constructive feedback, but basic social awareness and social skills goes a long way. If you're going to provide constructive feedback, if you've actually cared about somebody, like here's a good policy: don't start off with a bunch of annoying emojis and a bunch of thumbs down stuff, right? Like, right. Do you really think anybody is going to pay any attention to anything you have to say or be even mildly receptive? Even if your points are good, do you just think that this is a good way to lead into any conversation at all? Yeah. Boo, boo. You say that, like, this is so puerile and idiotic. It's insane. If you want to, here's a tip, right? If you actually want to offer constructive feedback for somebody, which I think is fine if you care about somebody's technique, send them a private message, right? It doesn't have to be a public thing, right? If I wanted to help somebody online, I'd be like, hey, first I'd try and lead with some compliments, right? Just like be a decent person, be like, hey, you're doing like great stuff with the kettlebell here. As it happens, I've written a bunch of stuff on this, and here's something that I think might help you get even more out of your workouts, and just like phrase it like that, right? Start with some sincere compliments, build a decent rapport, because if you actually want to help somebody, you should do that first, right? Because if you have a decent rapport, they'll probably be more receptive to what you have to say. You don't need to make a public scene about it because it's not about you. It's about actually wanting to help somebody else. And then, phrase it in a way that isn't just completely socially idiotic. And there you go. So there's at least one takeaway that's not even relevant to techniques. This is just, I think, just basic social skills that everybody seems to lack these days online. Alex, any comments on it?
I can tell you, I've done that before. I had a colleague a couple of years ago who posted a video of himself working on one arm, one leg push-ups. And I sent him a private message. I said, hey, here are a couple of things that I think you might find will help you with your one arm, one leg push-ups. And then I sent him a video of me demonstrating these things. And I was like, I'm curious to hear how this works. If you could give this a try and, let me know. And he greatly appreciated it because, obviously I wasn't trying to demonstrate to all the onlookers of social media and what have you. I wanted to help him directly. And I wanted to make it clear that my intention was to help him and not to attract attention to myself. And I didn't say, your form sucks, or, you're never going to do it like that. I just said, hey, I think you'll find this to be valuable. Give it a try. And as far as I know, it was super helpful because he said, like a day or two later, when he was able to give it a try, that it did indeed do the trick. So yeah, that's the thing. It's like most people are not leaving comments on things to add to the conversation, as you pointed out. They're doing it because they kind of like the attention. They like the drama. They want to seem they want to try to like lay claim to some sort of intelligence or insight that they don't really have. And so the best way to do that is to be really loud about it. But again, you don't see Louis Simmons going on and like talking trash about people's deadlift form on social media. You don't see Dan John talking trash about people's Olympic lifting. You don't see Pavel anywhere on social media, but if you did, he certainly wouldn't be talking trash about people's swings. You know, but a guy who thinks, you know what, I've watched a couple of YouTube videos. I went like through half of a kettlebell course. I think I know what I'm doing. They're always the people who are the loudest. So,
right.
And I get a kick out of it.
Enrique says this Instagram drama is gold. Let me, like, you know, we're being sarcastic here, tongue in cheek. So let me say a few things. Like, this video is not to like send a mob on some random guy on Instagram. Leave the guy alone. It doesn't matter. It's just that I don't like when people do that. Mostly I thought this was funny because it gave me a chance to rib Alex, right? Like that's that's why I like it. And then hopefully share with you what I think is actually a good drill and technique. I think this technique that Alex shared is actually a really cool thing, despite what this Tyler guy thinks. This is a good cool
Cowboy
drill.
Tyler.
Yeah. That I think you guys should try. And then, you know, talk about maybe some important social skills that often are severely lacking on the internet, how to have more productive conversations, especially around fitness, right? So we have a number of, you know, conversations around like what I think are relatively hot topics like philosophy and theology and even politics on this show. And we have very amenable, awesome conversation. But it's amazing, man, because like the types of stuff you will see on social media, especially Instagram and Twitter, and how I would argue how insignificant the topics are that people like seem to be willing to die over, right? Is pretty hilarious, right? Like I don't know what it would take to get me to want to go comment on a video like this was like it just seems like of all the things that matter in life, right, that are important, I just don't know. I can't even put myself in that frame of mind. So yeah, that was just some of my thoughts. That's why I want to do this episode. Mostly, I just think it's funny when Alex gets trolled randomly online.
Yeah, you know what? I actually don't want to encourage anybody to troll me, but like I don't get offended when people troll me because like I know that they're full of it. Like they're coming on my page for a reason. Like I don't know who these people are, and I'm gonna go back to not knowing who they are. Like once it's all over, but I'm gonna try to find a way to profit from it, get a lot of laughs, and you know, like this was 2 days ago. This whole thing unfolded. Pat and I are still cracking up about it. So. I was dying. Yeah. I don't take any of these people's criticism seriously because nobody knows who they are, and you know, they just provide entertainment for me, and it's free. They end up becoming like my unpaid interns because this video did pretty well in terms of views and number of people who saved it and shared it and that sort of a thing. So you know, all that back and forth only helped me out. So I can't really hate on the guy.
So you're not hanging it up then, Alex?
No, I'm going to keep doing what this guy insists is a terrible form. And I'm going to ignore him because his own form is amateurish. And I'm sure that when he's my first kettlebell lesson was 13 years ago this month. So wow. It's not like I don't know what I'm doing. I just get a never-ending kick out of the people who offer this unsolicited advice and you know, and blow up my Instagram.
For people who want to keep up with your apparently shoddy content, where are the best places to go, Alex? Where can they link up with you?
I'll tell you the ultimate best place to go is to be on my email list because guaranteed I send something out every day. I'm not as, I mean, I use social media, but I'm not as like regimented about posting on there. So if you go to alexsalkin.com, or here's another one. If you go to 9minutechallenge.com, you can get my 9-minute kettlebell and bodyweight challenge for free. I'm sure that this guy would hate it. So that's all the more reason for you to download it. And then, you know, you'll be on my email list. You can stick around, you can leave. I don't really care. But I always give out a lot of good free information on a daily basis. And I do post on social media, like there's Instagram, Alex_Salkin. That's ALEKS_SALKIN. You'll find me on Facebook.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, gentle listeners. Try the couch drill. I think it will actually help you. I think you'll find that it's a pretty sweet exercise. And don't forget to break the floor like you mean it. Adios.
Absolutely.